By the end of last year, New Mexico had paid out nearly $100 million to small businesses and some nonprofits. It's part of the pandemic assistance that was supported by Republicans and Democrats alike. Morgan Lee of the Associated Press looked into who was getting that money, and he found 5 current or former lawmakers as well as some interesting other businesses. Now, just before this on the program, we heard about New Mexico's citizen legislature. Does having an unpaid citizen legislature mean we're going to run into sticky ethical issues like this, Dee Dee Feldman?
Yes, indeed. I think this is a very good example of that. And, we do have some laws about that. And, of course, our fellow Senator Phil Griego is actually served time for voting on an issue that benefited him financially. So I have a real question as to whether if the senators that were mentioned here did vote on this bill and then collected the relief funds, which 47% of them got the 47% of the applicants got the money. So there were a lot of people that didn't get the money,
right,
while these guys did. Is that legal? It may not be legal.
Interesting. Senator Dan, I see your eyes blazing. Did you have a quick thought? Look like you wanted to jump in there.
No, I think this is the price you pay for having a citizen legislature. I think, if their business applied correctly, I think this is typical much to do about nothing. I mean, if somebody pulled some strings and got something more than someone else should have gotten, or if it was done by an inside deal, that's a problem. But I think if, you fill out the paperwork, I think, you shouldn't get any special treatment being a legislator, but I also don't think it should count against you because you're a legislator and you own a business and you're trying to keep people employed.
Senator Griego, the current senators who got grants, attorney Joe Cervantes and construction company owner George Munoz, who recused themselves from the vote, as Senator Feldman just mentioned, and William Scherer, who voted against the measure. He then used it to get $15,000 for his debt collection business. Are these problematic, or as Dan says, much ado about nothing?
I think recusal is important, right? I do think it's, the hypocrisy and some of the folks who really grandstanded on this, right, on this issue and whatever their ideology is, fiscally conservative. But I think for the senators who worked against it, who've been super critical of the governor and of the idea that we should be helping folks through this and then collecting it themselves, I think that's just, without mentioning names, but that I think that's a tough, ironic, hypocritical place to be. The others, I think, Cervantes and Munoz are both pretty successful businessmen, so. I think whether or not they could have absorbed this is for someone else to say, but I definitely think that that at least they recused themselves and at least they weren't against the idea, right, to help a lot of folks out, as others have said it. People who need this to not just keep the doors open, especially smaller businesses, right?
That's a good point there. Justine, the AP found 6 businesses that got grants as they were suing the state for lost business. Here's my question. And I hear Dan's point loud and clear. Just because doesn't mean you should be shut out. But I think there's a problem with breeding cynicism out there when you hear these kind of stories. Would you agree with that, or is that?
I would.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. And I think perhaps there's not enough scrutiny on that part of it. This reminds me of the legislative retirement debate that so many members agreed was blatantly unconstitutional, and then they just turned around and accepted the money. There's a lot of bluster. If you really take issue with the program and you think it's bad policy, well, then maybe somebody should run an amendment to exempt legislators from it. Like, let's really talk about what that would look like. When it comes down to it, these business owners are good at feathering their own nests, and Dan's right. I don't think workers who are employed by legislators should be penalized just because that's where they work. I mean, that's what a citizen legislature looks like. But I didn't hear any talk of an exemption saying, you've debated this bill, you know the ins and outs of it, the program. Maybe legislators shouldn't participate. That wasn't on the table.
You know, there was an example in the Journal story about Hinkle Family Fund Center. We all love that place, and Attorney Blair Dunn, we all know, is representing them. They received a $50,000 award, but Senator Feldman, they're suing at the same time, or we're suing. I feel for the businesses. That's difficult. They're impatient. They're losing money. They want something to happen, but at the same time, the government is trying to help them somehow, some way. Are those two things reconcilable? Can we meet in the middle here where everyone says, oh, okay, it's a great system. I don't need to sue anybody. I should just wait for my money. How can we make this work for everybody equitably?
Well, hypocrisy is not against the law. You know,
Fair enough.
May not be desirable, but it's not against the law. So in a way, I don't blame the business for applying for the grant. And they got it because they met the criteria, I guess. But remember, there are, you know, over 50% of the people who applied who didn't get the money, and who may have needed it just as much. So that raises a question in my mind. And I do think that the citizens' legislature, we need to really look at that again. We need to figure out whether this kind of conflict of interest isn't just so built in that it just reduces credibility in this institution, and that we need to start looking at rearranging things from the way they were set up in 1912.
Sounds like a lot like how we're dealing with liquor out there from, you know, laws from 40 years ago, for gosh sake. Eric Griego, one last question. The Journal story all pointed out another interesting point here. $338,000 went to 14 businesses associated with Gerald Peters. We all know Gerald. He's an art dealer in Santa Fe, been around a long time, and that included the Rio Chama Steakhouse, which I know every one of you on this screen has frequented during your time, you know, in the legislature. I'm not saying anything about Mr. Peters. I'm not saying anything's underhanded here. But same question: does that breed cynicism when you read something like that?
Well, you know, we've asked voters in the state, what they think about like the politics around some of these issues, right? And one of the things that always pulls off the mat is this idea that there's this kind of well-connected insider group, politically connected group who tend to get all the spoils of government. And that really resonates across partisan lines, across regional lines in New Mexico. Like the average New Mexican just wants to feel like they're being treated fairly, and they just really despise this idea that there's a kind of group of politically connected folks who get the spoils, not just here, but on, in terms of contracts and all the other things. I do think it really sort of highlights the fact that it just doesn't look good, whether Gerald Peters had anything to do with it. And it just doesn't look good.
Hey, we're out of time this week. Good to see all of you. Very much so. We'll have you back soon.